Hello, it's been a little while since you guys have heard from me in this specific way, but I just wanted to take a quick minute before the podcast and let you know about a little book project that I'm working on. It's geared at interns and it's kind of a mentor before they get mentors, right? So for any of you that are trying to gain a foothold or just listening to this that are kind of new coaches, that resource is coming out soon, so just keep an eye out. Welcome to the Gamut of Performance Podcast, episode 49. I took a little hiatus from intros just because I've been a little bit busy working on some other projects, but I'm back, and I'm back with a new guest. Today on the podcast, we have Vince, aka B-Boy Vincanity. This is a little bit different from most of the episodes that I usually do because Vince works as a teacher of dance in the Los Angeles area. So he is a coach in a way, but a little bit different from what we're used to in terms of strength and conditioning, right? But he still does the same, he still goes through the same vigors, the same day-to-day, right? The same processes that we go through, just in a different area of performance. It was a very insightful conversation, and it's always awesome to hear from people from different backgrounds and different interests, because I believe that to be the ultimate coach, to be the coach that we want to be, the best that we can be, we need to hear from other professions or other realms within our profession. And that's what I think Vince kind of keys in on. We talk a little bit about some of the difficulties that he had getting into schools and teaching his craft and how he has overcome that, and also how he's made a dream become a reality. This is a great episode, and I really enjoyed talking with Vince. So without further ado, here is B-Boy Vincanity. Vince, thank you so much for your time. Really excited to talk to you. This is a little bit different than most of the calls. Usually I talk to a lot of strength coaches, so for me this is really exciting because breakdancing is one of my hobbies, and I was really into it back in undergrad. And so for the listeners at home, will you tell us a little bit about your background, your motivation, and kind of where you are currently?
Yeah, so I started breaking back when I was about 13 years old. Now I am 31 years old. So it's been a while.
Yeah.
And where I grew up, breaking was is very underground, and I think still in a lot of communities it still is very underground. So there wasn't like a place where you go to learn how to dance. So it's very much like you saw somebody do it, and then you went home and figured things out on your own. Made kind of learning by making mistakes. And I started I got into doing dancing professionally when I got to college, because I wanted to. I was competing a lot. I was traveling a lot. And I wanted to find a way to support myself while still dancing. And so the logical way for me was like, I should just try to figure out how to do this professionally. So that's kind of where I first got into teaching, is just kind of like working with kids as a way to pay my way through college. And sooner or later that kind of turned into a passion of mine when I started working with kids in the community, working in neighborhoods where otherwise they'd never get an art experience. So it kind of went from more so just like general teaching, but actually like sharing like my passion with kids, and sharing what I've learned and through my experiences, my travels with kids. And that was something that really motivated me, and especially because the way I grew up, like not having much of a mentor with dancing, and kind of like learning through my struggles. I kind of wanted to share that experience with kids, and give them some extra help and motivate them in that way. So since about 2005, 2006, I've been teaching professionally, and I ran a program in Sacramento for about 10 years.
Oh, wow.
And now I currently live in Los Angeles, teaching in public schools around LA, so 6 different schools around LA.
That's awesome. And you kind of touched on a little bit about your motivation, right, and kind of why you do what you do, but is there more of a bigger picture, right? So you said that you wanted to teach people and be the mentor that kind of you never had, right? Is there a deeper meaning as far as like keeping kids out of trouble or affecting the community in any way? Or
Oh yeah, for sure. So like just I feel like the first time I ever worked with kids in the community,
Yeah.
I kind of like found my like passion, because like before, like working with kids at like a studio where, you know, they're like, I call them the soccer kids, but they're the kids that, you know, their parents put them in one thing and then they go to the next thing.
Yeah.
I almost felt like they didn't, not that they didn't appreciate it, but they didn't appreciate it as much as these kids in the community where, you know, otherwise they wouldn't have, you know, anything else. They would have, you know, they'd be at home, you know, who knows doing what. So once I started working in the community and I saw the impact it made on these kids, that was kind of like my motivation. Like I saw kids that like teachers saw them as like the troublemakers, like kids that would constantly be going to the office or sent home, now like excelling at something in school. And that kind of like, that changed my perception. Like I was like, this is why like these schools need this. Like it changed from like, oh, this is something cool for kids to do, to like kids need this stuff. And it kind of just opened my eyes to that. So that's kind of been my main motivation. I know a lot of it sounds cliche, like you know, you go to these schools, you work with them, you change these kids' lives, but seeing that actually unfold on a daily basis is just like, is awesome to me. And
it's super rewarding.
Even today, like there's a kid who I was working with today, and he's literally like, when I show up to the school, this kid is in the office, like in trouble all the time. And so the office lady knows him very well. She hopped in my class, and she's like, I was so surprised to see so-and-so like actually participating and like not getting in trouble. So like just seeing this kind of like this process unfold, like seeing the transformations that happen in these kids, like it that's what really has like pushed me to continue and continue to push these programs in schools.
That's awesome. How has it kind of grown, right? So from when you first started teaching, right, to where you are now, how has that kind of transition kind of grown as far as like interest level and in the community and all that?
It's been a crazy like rough process. When I first started, you've probably seen like people's perception of what hip hop is and what hip hop isn't. So I mean, when I first started, I remember like trying to teach at the school, and I wrote a program. I was trying to be all professional, and then of course I'm like 18 years old. I still look like a kid, and the response from them was like, "No, we don't want gang affiliated dances at our school." And I'm just like, what are you talking about? Like, this is what kept most of my friends like out of trouble. Like seeing that perception change through the years is definitely like been a stepping stone. And I think it wasn't until like you start seeing hip hop dancing on TV, like with shows like America's Best Dance Crew and So You Think You Could Dance, like then like once it was put in the public eye, I feel like just people's perception of it started changing, and it became easier for me to like present stuff.
That's awesome.
And what my program, the program I work for in LA, what we do is actually try to write our stuff according to school standards. So that way it's just accepted. It's like becomes something that teachers are like, we need this here, versus like, oh, this will be fun for the kids. So it kind of changes the demand for it. So it's definitely been a long process, and just being able to get public eye to kind of accept what we do.
No, for sure.
But it definitely, like, I feel like even compared to like another dance class, it's something that kids really, at least in the community, they can really relate to. And they can really relate to like the struggle and the passion that goes into it. So I feel like once the teachers and the administration, they see the end result, like how much these kids are really like effort they're putting in, and how much like even the passion in their eyes when they're dancing, it changes their whole perception. So I feel for me, like from the beginning, it's literally changed like one school at a time. And because it's one of those things you have to see to believe.
For sure, And it's really cool because it's an art form, right? So for some people, their expression is like, say, basketball or, you know, a different sport or something like that. But it's a really cool art form that anybody, like, there's a low barrier to entrance. You know, you don't really have to have anything. Like, that's the cool thing about it. So it's really interesting, right? And then transitioning a little bit and kind of putting breakdancing more into kind of with other athletics, right? So where do you think that kind of falls in like the hierarchy of athletics, right? So there's like team sports, there's like gymnastics. Where do you think that kind of falls in there?
Yeah, it's hard to say because I mean I feel like there's different people in breaking that kind of are attracted to different things. So there's I feel like there's a lot of people that are definitely attracted to doing individual competitions, like a one-on-one competition, or just kind of like focusing on themselves. And then there's a lot of people that are very much like, you know, like down for the crew. Like they want to enter crew battles. They want to do stuff as a crew. They want to make routines together. And which is definitely more of makes it more of a team sport. So I feel like through the years, breaking is kind of like, it's had its like changes. Like there's been years where you saw lots of one-on-one competitions, and when there was those competitions, you saw people focusing on, you know, themselves. Versus like there were years where crew competitions were really big, and you saw people definitely working more as a crew, doing more teamwork. So I mean, it's definitely through the years, it's definitely changed, and it's gone back and forth. So you know, it's like who knows what's going to happen next. Like,
no, that's true. And then moving forward with that, right? So I recently read an article that breaking was going to be put in, or considered being put in, the 2024 Olympics in Paris, along with like surfing, climbing, and skateboarding, right? So I just wanted to get what are your thoughts on that, and what that'll do for the sport?
I feel like it's for a lot of people it's a scary time because it's like you don't know, like it's like putting this culture that we all like love and care about into the hands of like a big organization like the Olympics. It's kind of scary for a lot of people. It's like who knows what's gonna happen, and how are they gonna, you know, preserve this art form. But I feel like at the end of the day, like no matter what happens, it's still our responsibility as dancers. Like we're the people we're the keepers of this culture. Like we can't put that responsibility on anybody else but ourselves.
Exactly.
At the end of the day, like I feel like we have to continue to do what we're doing. Like, you know, holding community events, holding even like practice spots in the community where people get together, just keeping the culture alive in our own cities. Like I think that's such a big part. Like a lot of people, I mean, through the years, I feel like depend on like big promoters to throw an event. And so like even when I was younger, like it's crazy because I was actually talking to my kids about this. Like when I was younger, the biggest event that happened was like at a rundown community center, and we would look forward all year for this rundown community center event. And like the prize was like, you know, sometimes it was like $20, sometimes it was $50, $100. And in today, like now we have these bigger platforms. We have sponsors that are interested. We have Red Bull, Monster, now the Olympics. We have these bigger platforms. So it's kind of exciting times. Like even like 10 years ago when Red Bull started throwing events, like that was a big stepping stone for breaking. And I think there was a lot of like controversy, not controversy, but people that were like, you know, kind of scared. Like how can we trust this company to preserve the, you know, this culture that we love so much? So I think it's exciting times, but it's definitely kind of like scary times where it's like we don't know what's going to happen.
That's true.
And I feel like at the end of the day, it's still our responsibility as keepers of this culture to keep it alive and keep whatever we're doing, you know, still going.
No, I love that thought, right? And you kind of touched on a good point, right? So Red Bull and like Monster, they've done a great job in like kind of promoting the culture and promoting all that. Do you think anybody else, like any other organization, has helped to kind of push the sport or the art form forward?
Yeah, there was an organization, or they're still doing it actually. Silverback. I feel like they have definitely put a lot of effort in the past like 5 years.
Yeah.
Pushing events and even just like putting money into events. The guy who started, his name is Steve Graham, and he's just a guy who loves breaking. Yeah. And he wanted to give back, so he started helping out, like sponsoring events and just throwing some money at an event. So there's definitely and those I want to say those are like the bigger players, but I feel like in every city where there's a striving community, there's always like community leaders that are putting together these events, and I feel like those are the people that kind of get overseen, and those are the people that, to me personally, like I think they're the ones that are keeping their culture alive. Like even I think a lot of dancers these days kind of I want to say overlook some of these community leaders, because even people that like hold a practice spot, like there's a practice spot in Long Beach, for example, that's been going for years now, and I give credit to the guy who throws that. His name is Iceman. Like I give him a lot of credit, because keeping like putting that responsibility on yourself to be there every single week to host this practice for these people, for kids to come, experienced dancers, new dancers. It's important, and I feel like stuff like that, like a lot of people don't want to take that responsibility on. So I give a lot of credit to the people in the community that are not just putting together events, but like small events, but also just holding a practice spot, because it's just like this like cycle of inspiration. And if you're like a young dancer, like you could go to these big events and you're going to be inspired, but you can't really, I feel like as a new dancer, you can't really enter it and like get experience. You're gonna, you won't even qualify. So I feel like these small events, they give kids opportunities to actually shine. And sometimes you see people that will surprise you. Like you'll see them at a practice and like, oh, they're okay. They're still beginners. And then they'll enter this competition and they'll win. They surprise you. So I feel like the keepers of this culture are this people in the community that are holding these practice spots, that are throwing events, that are keeping their scene alive, basically.
No, I like that. Okay. And then moving forward, right, and what we do is kind of similar, because we're both teachers in a sense, right? And so, but combining kind of our professions even more, or our interests even more. So what does kind of B-boy or B-girl training kind of look like, right? So what's like a typical training regimen or like a practice regimen for like a beginner, or how does that switch to like an advanced artist?
Oh, that's a good question. I think that it's kind of hard to say, because every dancer is different, and because like breaking is such like a free art form, you'll see people training in so many different ways. But one thing that I have noticed is someone that dances, someone that's like you could tell is really taking this seriously, and when you see them dance, like things are very precise and they don't mess up, and their moves are always on point. I feel like people like that, they tend to train in a different way, where it's more like an athlete. Like they'll run drills and they'll do their moves over and over and over and over till it looks sharp, it looks strong, it looks effortless. And I feel like that's kind of just as a dancer, a lot of people don't see that part. Especially when you go to like a big practice spot. Like I feel like a lot of times, at least I get the feeling like people are just trying to show off. So they're kind of dancing, trying to be cool. Versus like a lot of times, if for serious people who are really serious about it, they're gonna go back wherever they practice, wherever they feel comfortable, and they're gonna be working on stuff that they're not good at. They're gonna be working on stuff, and they're gonna put themselves in positions where they're vulnerable and they might not look good every single second. But they're doing that to really improve. So I feel like to really achieve like a high level of breaking, you have to kind of train like an athlete. You have to drill your moves. You have to also put them into action. So just like how in like basketball, people do they'll practice dribbling, they'll practice passing, they'll practice shooting, and then they'll do drills for it, and then they actually play the game to put it into action. You could be the best at shooting in basketball, but then suck at playing basketball.
If you can't do it when it's time. No, that makes sense.
I think it's the same thing. Like a lot of people, they're good dancers, but they don't apply their skills to actual dancing, and so until they do, you don't see them actually kind of flourish. Yeah,
that makes sense. Okay, and then on that same vein, right? So strength plays like a large role, obviously with all the handstands and the freezes and all that kind of stuff. Do b-boys or b-girls typically strength train, or like with weights and stuff, or what do you think about that?
I feel like it's definitely helpful, and definitely not a lot of people, not everybody does it. Some people do, some people don't. But I feel like breaking is so much like body weight exercises are playing more of a role. I feel like if for some, like I've seen dancers that are super like strong and they got that way just from doing like power moves. So I feel like strength training is definitely useful. It's definitely helpful. But at the end of the day, actually training the moves that you do is what's going to actually make you better at what you do.
That makes sense.
You could do, it's kind of like you could do all the push-ups in the world, but I mean, it's not going to teach you how to do a flare or a windmill. So actually, but I do think that like push-ups will help you get control of your power moves, right? So it kind of works hand in hand. But
it's more of a continuum type thing.
But I do think it's important because it's even like, say like you want to push up to doing a handstand. But you could barely do a push-up. I feel like it's kind of a stepping stone to actually get to that point.
Okay. Cool.
And then, so for me personally, like when I train, I'll actually, or if I'm trying to learn a new move, I'll look at that move and I'll try to break it down and figure out little minor exercises to kind of help me work up to that point.
Okay, so kind of like check that box, right? Move on to the next one, right?
Okay. So like if I was trying to push up to a handstand, for example, I would find a stepping stone, maybe even just doing push-ups and doing like push-ups like this,
or handstand push-up.
Find a stepping stone that'll help me like gain the control to get to that point.
That's super interesting. Okay, and so with the sport kind of growing more and possibly being in the Olympics, right, and possibly being like even, I don't know, regulated, I guess would be the word, on a bigger stage, do you think that is going to switch where there's going to be more of a structured training, so like more drilling, more types of like strength work, whether it's body weight or that kind of stuff? Do you think there's going to be more of a role for someone to run that kind of structured training, or do you think it's going to stay the way it is?
I think like I feel like you'll see a lot more people being like coached and mentored by people in definitely a more disciplined fashion. That's one of the, like if you compare like breaking to like gymnastics, people that do gymnastics are like so disciplined in their art where things are super precise, versus like in breaking it's very much like free flowing. So I kind of don't think that the coaching at least will be the same as like a gymnastics coach, because it is a very free flowing art form,
for sure.
Like my form is going to be different than your form, and that's going to be something that's
what you
is
want.
Okay.
You want that.
You want it. Like I don't want my even my flare. I don't want my flare to look like your flare. I feel like there definitely will be more of a disciplined coaching structure, and even like I look at a lot of like some of the top dancers, and a lot of them they that's how they train. They have someone that's like really pushing them, and you see it in their dancing. Like it's hard to like really push yourself like without someone right there, like without a coach. So I think it's definitely something that will probably spread out amongst more dancers, because I feel like right now it's a select amount of people that train like that. But I feel like it will be more disciplined.
And it's probably people that have more access to it as well, so that's probably a barrier.
Because even me, like growing up, like it was just kind of like me and my friends just show up and practice. as we got more serious about it, we're like, well, if we want to really get to the next level, we need somebody running our practice. So we would take turns, and like sooner or later, we found the person that was better at pushing people, and we do drills, and if someone's like starting to slow down, we push them, motivate each other. But I think not everybody thinks that way and trains like that. So I think with the idea of like the Olympics and even just bigger competitions in general, I think that'll kind of like become more of a thing.
Okay. And I know I've been stuck on this topic a little bit, right? But to kind of solidify it all together, right? So, for example, like MMA fighters, they might have like their strength coach or their actual like Brazilian jiu-jitsu coach, right? Their wrestling coach, something like that, nutritionist. Do you think it's going to become more of a model like that? Or do you think it's going to be more of like, this is your dance coach and he's going to have a little bit of, or she will have a little bit of knowledge in every area? I know it's a tough question.
That's hard to say. I mean, it's kind of like I never really thought of it in that fashion. I mean, it would definitely be good. To have somebody like there, like coaching people on, like say nutrition, because I feel like just because you're a coach doesn't mean you know anything about.
Exactly. That's the problem.
I feel like there's a lot of coaches that like they're good at what they do, and then they tell someone nutritional advice, and it's just like, what are you talking about?
You messed up there.
So I definitely have a strong like notion that people should always kind of stay in their lane and not go too far out of their scope of practice. So I can't. It's hard to say like if that would be crazy though. Like to think like if you have like a dietitian on your team coaching you for your nutrition, and you have your coach that's doing your training for like your power moves, and you have your like footwork coach. Like that would really be crazy. But I don't know. It's
probably a little bit of ways from there.
Like I feel like even that is still like a dream type thing. Like, even like when I was younger, like even hearing the Olympics in
it was kind of distant.
Like, that was like really far. That was distant.
No, that's awesome.
So it's I think it's still like, for me, it's still kind of, until I see it happen, it's still kind of in this dream phase. So.
That makes sense. No, that's interesting. Okay. And then kind of moving forward into this this last kind of segment here. So it's more questions about you personally and kind of things that have affected you and made you who you are. So what are some resources that have had a big impact on you, whether that's like a book or a podcast or even a conversation, right, or an event?
Let's see. Well, so I guess when I first like saw breaking in person, that was a very big motivational thing. Because before that, it was like I saw like one of my friends that he knew how to do like some simple move, like a 6-step or a coffee grinder. I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. But going to my first event where I saw like actual battles where like, and you like feel that energy of like
the room,
someone going out and just blowing up the whole spot, like that was a big motivation. That's what like transitioned me from like casually practicing here and there to like every single day practicing.
Okay.
And then when I was about when I was 17, I got an opportunity to go compete in another country.
Okay.
And
must be awesome.
Just kind of seeing there was dancers at this event from all over the world, so kind of seeing like how motivated those dancers were and how like passionate they were. That's really what kind of pushed me to like take this to another level and just continue doing it. And I want to say like the last thing that really pushed me for as far as a teacher was actually my students. Like there was a time where a lot of my classes were kind of being cut because of budget cuts. But just seeing that like my students, how passionate they were still about it, I was just like, that's what kind of like drove me to really pursue teaching and bringing breaking into the community and just kind of bringing it back to the kids, sharing my, like I said earlier, like sharing my personal experiences and how I was inspired with them. It was just kind of like it's a kind of this full circle that kind of motivated me a lot to keep it going. So just seeing like remembering like how I got into it and then bringing that experience to the kids. That really helped me kind of like keep this going. And that's kind of why like in my classes, I'm not teaching them to go like do a performance and do choreography. I actually teach, what they do is they learn about breaking, they learn about how to battle, and then what they do is they make crews in their class. And then there's like 3 other classes, and then what we do is throw a little jam basically where they're battling kids from other classes.
That's awesome. So it's like I'm bringing like my goal is like to bring that same experience, that same energy to the school in the community. That's really cool.
For not just like them to experience, but the teachers,
exactly,
the administration, everybody.
Because they're not going to experience that anywhere else unless they really get enveloped in it. So so that's awesome.
That's what I tell the people right in the start of the performance. I'm like, everything you see on TV and hear on the radio is not really hip hop. This, what you're going to experience right now, this is hip hop, and I think that really like resonates with them.
That's cool. And then moving into this last segment here, just a few, so I'm just going to rapid fire questions and you just kind of answer in a short answer or a phrase. So if you have any, what are some quotes that you live by?
Quotes well, Bruce Lee, don't think, feel. I think that's like the biggest, like, it could be applied to any aspect of what you do in life, but I think it just like resonates to me because it's like, don't doubt yourself, just feel it and go for it.
I like that. Okay. What is the best advice you've ever been given?
Best advice? That's a hard one. I feel like, well, when I was younger, when I first started getting into teaching, I was kind of like, I feel like I was personally kind of waiting for stuff to come my way. And I feel like, just like it's just kind of that mentality, like I have a service, I could do a performance, I can teach a class, they should come to me. And that's how I was thinking. But then my parents actually were like, no, if you want something, you have to go get it. Right? You can't just wait for opportunities to come at your door. So I think like business wise, that really kind of helped me a lot through the years because. While like other people were like just waiting waiting for a class to come to them, waiting for a performance, I was making phone calls and sending emails, and that really helped me like kind of pursue what I was doing. Okay.
So in contrast to that, what's the worst advice you've ever been given?
Worst advice? Oh, well, I didn't listen to this advice, but when I first, this is in 2005, and again, like I grew up in Sacramento where there's no dance industry, there's like, so there really isn't like a job that says you're a professional dancer. And when I told I told one of my friends, I was like, I wanna do this professionally. He told me, you can't do it professionally. It's not this is not a job, this is just a hobby. And I feel like that, I mean, being like the rebel that I am, I was just like, I'm gonna prove you wrong.
I'll make it a job.
And like literally like the next day I was making phone calls, sending emails just to prove this guy wrong. And sooner or later, within 6 months of that day, like I was paying rent from teaching. So that's it definitely. And I started working. I started my first dance job, like continuous job, was performing for the Sacramento Kings.
Oh wow! Okay.
And even though I wasn't like paid a ton of money or anything, it was just like it was a big stepping stone, and I think it kind of helped me as a teacher too, to teach in Sacramento. People are like, oh, you dance for the Kings? That's cool. We want you to teach here. So I think that definitely helped me out a lot.
Okay. And then last question here, right? So what are some projects you're kind of currently working on, and how can people kind of reach out to you and follow your journey?
Currently, like the main projects I'm working on, I'm working on a couple documentaries.
Okay.
I started one a while back about why breaking is, or not breaking, but why art is important for kids.
Okay.
So I'm still working on that. I'm still kind of making progress on it. And I'm actually, there's a couple other little documentary projects that I'm working on right now too. But the main push is just to kind of try to like inspire other people to to do what I'm doing, to continue to get other dancers involved and bringing breaking into public schools and just hip hop into public schools. That's the main goal. So I'm hoping that in the next, like when I moved to LA, there was definitely like a learning curve, and I feel like my main goal now is to eventually bring what I'm doing in LA back to Sacramento, and who knows where it goes from there. Just continue to bring breaking into public schools and directly into classrooms.
Awesome. And how can people kind of reach out to you?
They can reach out to me through my Instagram, which is at bboyvincanity, spelled BBOYVINCANITY.
Okay, awesome. And then where might those documentaries air?
It's kind of I can't really say right now.
Oh, okay, fair enough. Okay.
But you to keep updated, you could subscribe to my YouTube, which is Vincanity TV.
Okay, awesome.
YouTube.com/VincantyTV.
Awesome. Vince, well, thank you so much for your time. I can feel your energy, so I know that when you're teaching the kids that it's the same energy, it's electric. So this has been awesome. Once again, thank you for your time, and hopefully we connect again soon in the future.
Of course. Thank you for having me.
Thanks again for listening, and if you enjoyed the podcast, please head on over to iTunes and leave a rating, or if you wouldn't mind, go ahead and write me a review and let me know what you like about the podcast or what I could do better at. Once again, I appreciate your time and your support, and this is the Gamut of Performance Podcast.